Hey everyone, this is Lady C. I want to welcome you to Creative Studio. And here in the studio today with me is Robert, and he is from the podcast Dad Needs to Talk. And we are going to be talking a little bit about podcasting today because that is his bag. So, Robert, you want to tell us a little bit about your experience podcasting?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show, Lady C.
You are so welcome.
As she said, my name is Robert. And part of I guess I'll kind of explain a little bit the part of the naming behind why it's called Dad Needs to Talk is that I am a dad. I am married, a father of 5, 3 boys, twin girls, and yeah, been doing this podcast thing for about 4, 5 months. I think knocking on 5 months. So started mid-March. So yeah.
And so, what kind of things are you talking about on your show?
Yeah, so I talk a variety of things from fatherhood and family stuff to manga, which is Japanese comics for those who don't know. So manga, anime, which is Japanese animation, video games, TV shows, and things of that nature. So I kind of do a mix of, like I said, family and personal life stuff, as well as some fun nerdy stuff that I like to do when time allows.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you said you've been doing this for about 5 months now. How many
Mhm.
episodes do you have out?
So collectively, I think it's knocking on 50.
Wow.
Yeah. So, cause I just went up and did like a little quick count before we recorded. And so kind of like the general format of my show is that I do at least one main episode every week. But sometimes, depending on, what I might have to talk about or, what's going on, I might do additional bonus episodes along the way. So it might just be a case of like, you know what, a hot thing happened. We're like, oh, hey, a new movie came out, a new TV show, and I don't want to wait till the next week to record. So I'll do a solo thing. Or, if it's just something I'm just like really passionate about, and it's like, you know what, I want to just separate this from the usual show. So that's kind of how I have gotten to, close to 50, even in this short time doing weekly. So
Well, that's excellent because, to be a father of 5 and you're busy, your schedule's busy, and to have cranked out 50 podcasts, that is excellent. You know what I'm saying?
oh
Um,
yeah.
what kind of equipment are you using?
Yeah, so pretty much I guess kind of like starting off, I started off with just my plain old Samsung phone and a $20 pop filter I ordered off of Amazon. But quickly a little bit after that or whatever, I invested in this HyperX mic, which I love because I can change the color of the LEDs. And I bought me this it's a Lenovo laptop I invested in as well. And then I had this little Logitech webcam that actually we've had for a little while. So that I was able just to pull that out of one of the drawers. So, but yeah, that's kind of like my basic little setup, as well as this lovely little ring light I got back here, which I actually bought for my wife to use, but it ended up being something that I was like, you know what, I can use this as well because the ring light is actually probably like this big.
Okay.
It's not one of like the bigger ones.
Mhm.
But it still throws, as you saw a little bit before the recording, the light it illuminates, even being that small, is pretty powerful. So, and I got that
Yeah.
at a jewelry store
Oh,
for
wow.
like $10 because my wife does jewelry and bracelets and stuff out for crystals. And so when we had our anniversary a few weeks ago, I went to the store that she goes to a lot that's near our house. And so I was like, trying, okay, what can I use or what can I get that might be useful to her? And I'm like, well, I know she's up late at night sometimes doing stuff. So I was like, this little small USB ring light. So I got it for her. But like I said, I'm also,
So you're
finding.
borrowing it for your uses as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're podcasting on a shoestring here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
because
kind of making
a
it
lot
work.
of times people, when I belong to several Facebook podcast groups.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Mm-hmm.
you know that the number one question that people ask on that in that group is, what type of microphone are you using? You
Yep.
know, And it's almost like, that's the number one question everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
because, even
Mm-hmm.
at the podcast conference I was at last week, they talked about that's what people ask about. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, in my local podcast group that I do on Meetup, same question.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is, hey, look, just start with something. You ain't got to worry about
Yes.
all that because you have, like, how much did you pay for your microphone, if you don't mind me asking?
So this one right here, I think it was about 150, 160. So,
Okay,
yep,
okay,
got it at Best Buy.
but that ain't no chump change either. 151.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
That's a
definitely
nice
not.
little.
But for me, I think it was kind of an investment
Mhm,
in myself and in this podcast because it was a thing of. And I know we talked about it previously, but if you don't mind me telling
mhm,
the little bit of story of kind of like what led me to investing in myself sooner than what I expected. So, so when I started the podcast or whatever, I honestly had little to no thoughts that I'll be doing anything spectacular, even just doing collaborations and stuff with people like what we're doing.
mhm.
And so that's why I was like, well, okay, I'll just go with my phone and a pop filter. Well, I ended up in a situation to where this other podcast I've been following for years, and just one day, just classic shoot your shot, just putting something out into the universe, not really hoping for nothing. I just made like a general comment, and this was like maybe I had been podcasting for maybe a couple of weeks, if that, and I just made just an offhand comment like, you know what, hey, one day it'd be cool if I could come on and podcast with y'all someday. Now, for me, someday meant a year plus. Like, you know what? I got to put in the time, the work, the grind to build up a reputation. Like, so that's what I'm thinking. And so, lo and behold, like the next day, the host, she messaged me. She was like, hey, I checked out your stuff. You seem cool. Do you want to come on a podcast, soon? And so I was like, oh, okay. So I attempted to use what I had at the time or what I thought would work, which was a old Samsung tablet I had, some gaming headphones plugged into that tablet. And what happened was when we went to go live for that recording, they were using a Zencaster. And I didn't know because I was new to all this stuff. Zencaster does not work on mobile devices.
Ooh.
So here I am at showtime and we have to and so pretty much I have to go and get my old laptop and all this stuff, whatever. And yeah, it was a mess. My audio sounded horrible and things of that nature. And so pretty much after the show, I was like, never again. I don't want to be caught, you know, off guard. And
Exactly.
so yeah, so I decided to make the investment and to yeah, invest in
Well,
some equipment. So
well, you know what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing you say, and this happens to me a lot with people that I work with when I do collaborations and stuff like that. So it sounds to me like before you get ready to go on a podcast with people, you need to do a sound check, as it were, to find out what kind of platform they're going to be on, what kind of
mm-hmm,
microphones you're going to need, and everything before
mm-hmm.
you start out the gate.
Yes, exactly. Because that,
Hmm.
yeah, pretty much after that, like anybody else, because I've been fortunate enough to have collaborated with several other people since then. And I definitely, hey, okay, what are we streaming on? What are we recording on? Anything specific I need to know or be aware of? Because I've even in a short amount of time, I've done stuff on Zencaster,
Yeah.
Zoom. We're on StreamYard now, and some other stuff. I think I might even did one on Google Hangouts or something. I don't know. So it's you just never know because everybody has the different approaches and things that work for them. So yeah, so definitely asking those questions beforehand is definitely very important and very key
That's
when
true.
it comes to collaborating and stuff. So.
Okay. But based on what you're saying, $150 got you in the game,
Mhm.
and and your microphone sounds good. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just saying, so when people start asking, what kind of microphone do I need? Another person that I saw this guy on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna tell you what he said. he said a lot of times the microphone is not so important, but it's how close you are to the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a microphone and it's like 7 or 8 inches away from you,
Yeah.
then that's going to be a problem. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
you see a lot of people, they'll have their microphone like hanging over with on a shock mount or something, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because you got to be close to your mic. Now I have a handy Zoom right here.
Yeah.
I got one of those, you know, and this is one that can go outside. I think this is like maybe a $500 model. I think maybe,
Okay.
I think the Zoom 4 is like $399
Mm-hmm.
and the H6 is like $499, something to that effect,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Okay.
And the difference in the two is one of them has 4 items that you can plug into, and I think this one has 6 or something.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, I learned later on that I didn't need a 6
Yeah.
because people are actually plugging in instruments to this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yes, and
Huh.
I'm not playing an instrument, so I don't
Yeah.
need that. So sometimes you think, oh, if I go out and buy something more expensive, then that might be better. And that's what I did. But
Yeah.
I've had this for a while. I've had this like for
Yeah.
10 years, maybe. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get good sound. That's good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Like you said, money does not guarantee quality or success.
Mhm.
Because definitely, especially if you're new to this stuff and you don't really have like little to no technical background with this stuff, whatever. Yeah, you can very quickly, way overpay for something when it's like, hey, you could have spent a fraction of what you did and still accomplish the same goal because something else that I've seen, I'm pretty sure you have as well, because I'm in some of the same groups and stuff for whatever that you are. And so I definitely see a lot of people that will invest a whole bunch before even having an idea of what they want, or they're like, hey, I want to do a podcast, and they don't even have, no episodes out, no trailers, nothing. But oh, hey, let me go spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on equipment. And so I see that every so often, towards like, hey, I got the equipment. Now what? And it's like, anybody that might be watching this that might be thinking about doing that, I would recommend don't do that, because for a myriad of reasons, like we just said, like for one, you might
Mhm.
not even need all the stuff that you're looking at or whatever, and two, you also kind of maybe want to at least gauge and see if this is even something you're going to want to do and invest in, because what happens if you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and then after a few months or whatever, it's like, what, actually podcasting just isn't for me.
Right.
And depending on what type of line of work you do or hobbies or whatever, you might not even have anything that you could repurpose that equipment for. And it's like, well, now I have this $100 piece of equipment that's just going to sit in the drawer and collect dust.
That's
So
true. That
yeah.
is so true. Because I mean that was one of the panelists that talked about in the podcast movement.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the speakers, I don't know what his name, I forgot his name, but he
Mm-hmm.
talked about how people get sucked into these types of things. And he
Yes.
said the first thing that they'll do is they say, oh, someone will wake up and say, oh, you should be a podcaster. And then the person says, oh, really? And they're like, oh, well, what should I podcast on? Oh, well, let me go find a microphone. Let me find a piece of software, some equipment. Let me go out here and invest in a podcast host. And he said, next thing you know, hundreds of dollars later, you're doing something and you're like, you got sucked into something because
Mm-hmm.
somebody just said, oh, podcasting might be interesting. And now, and
Yep.
then next thing you know, you don't want to podcast anymore, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So
That's some
it's a lot to this. And
yeah.
one of the things I'll say is, I have 3 YouTube channels.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one that's doing very well and 2 are 2 startups.
Mm-hmm.
And I can use my equipment and everything across the board, right? And all
Mm-hmm.
my skill set.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the issue is with the YouTube channel, I take one of my YouTube channels and I actually make the video into
Mm-hmm.
an MP3. And
Yeah.
so I allow my audience to get the iTunes, like the
Mhm.
podcast is audio only,
Mhm.
or they can go to YouTube because
Mhm.
a lot of people, they don't want to do videos. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't want to just do audio. So what I
Yep.
did is I gave my audience either or.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that makes it kind of nice. And that was one of the other questions that came up. I don't know if you were part of that thread or not, but
Mhm.
let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
In your day-to-day podcasting,
Mhm.
do you offer video?
I do for certain content. So just because like so for one, kind of going back to the beginning, with me being a busy a busy dad, a lot of times it is quicker and easier for me to just do audio only stuff. But um I have started doing some video stuff because I also started a YouTube channel. Maybe I think it's been maybe like a month ago now.
Mhm.
And so the way I utilize my YouTube channel is that it's a mix of kind of, I guess you kind of call it like a complimentary content for my podcast. So there are some times to where I'll record something and then same thing like how you did, like I'll take the MP3 for the audio and then put it up on my podcast feed. And sometimes depending on what it is, it might be something to where, it's like, hey, okay, this is actually going to be part of the main topic of this week's episode. So I'll just plug it into like wherever my main topic might be for the week. I'll just slot that into my other audio that I recorded and stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of how I'm using my YouTube channel at the moment. I had contemplated, maybe start like going forward, just doing like everything video and stuff, whatever. But I don't know if I'm at that point yet. You
Okay.
know, I think it would be good for me to do that just to kind of help with the growth of everything because that'd be just another stream or another way to catch people's attention and stuff. So, but I think that probably won't happen until I kind of get
Right.
life in a place to where okay, I can reliably, you know, uh do video and stuff every week. Because I think I probably want to give me a dedicated better webcam for that as well because my YouTube videos and stuff I just record off of my phone. Just because I have a good camera on my phone and I can do
Yeah, but that's a good
4K and all
point.
that
That's
stuff on
all
my
you
phone.
need.
Hmm.
You don't need anything else but a phone because
Yeah.
some people have shot movies with an iPhone because
Hmm.
the camera is so good.
Yeah.
But I will say this, in my audience, in one of my audiences, they don't like just audio.
Yeah.
So when I put an audio up sometimes, I did
Hmm.
an interview with someone and
Hmm.
we actually did the interview on Zoom. Something happened with her camera and we could not put her on Zoom.
Hmm.
She had good information, so all I could do was take a graphic and put it up on the video and just put like the name of the show and then our names and then we just
Hmm.
had audio. And we started getting comments. Oh, I can't stand it when it's audio only. So they were just
Yeah.
frustrated. So when you go on YouTube,
Hmm.
people want to see video.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like you were saying, if you want to make it audio, it's easy
Hmm.
because all you got to do is save your file to an MP3,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you're doing MP3,
Hmm.
then you need to save your file to an H.264 format. And
Hmm.
then you can just put like a graphic in up there or whatever you want to put there
Yeah.
so that they're not just looking at a black screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that I had contemplated doing as well was, like having some type of graphic or something, whatever, with the audio to put it
Right.
on YouTube. But like you said, I did, kind of do some research and stuff, whatever, and it kind of was that 50-50 thing of like, well, or maybe not 50-50, but some people were like, don't really like that. So that's why I kind of was like, maybe I'll just wait until, or I'll only put stuff on my YouTube channel that actually has, me on camera and stuff, whatever, versus just putting the audio thing, whatever. So, but who
Yeah.
knows? It
But you know what? I'm
yeah.
going to say this to you. I'm going to give you this piece of advice.
Hmm.
Never say I'm going to wait until I get better equipment.
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure,
what
for
you have
sure.
now is fine.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing about this whole thing is if you have good audio,
Hmm.
people will take that over good video any day.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
nobody
yeah, for
wants
sure.
perfect audio. I mean, nobody wants perfect video and bad audio.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
for sure. For
So
sure.
yeah, so don't hold back. We have a tendency to hold back when we're working with stuff. I got to get better this. I got to get better that.
Oh yeah.
Everything is already good.
Oh
You
yeah, for
know.
sure. And
Right.
I guess I'll kind of expand a little bit. So I guess like the other part of why I was wanting to get like a separate camera is because of the fidelity that I'm recording at. Those are some big files, and so granted, the way I'm doing it now is that I'll record once it's uploaded to YouTube, then I download or delete it off my phone
Okay.
so I can get that time back. But I would like to, like I said, I'm doing that in the interim, but I would like to get to the point where I have something where I can start saving some of the stuff more often, or have it being saved to a dedicated device and stuff. So just because it was something I was like a few weeks ago, I did like a couple of videos back to back,
Mhm.
and then one of them, when I was in the middle of recording, it stopped and it was like, oh, you ran out of space. And so I'm like, oh right, okay, so now every time before I go to record a video, I have to go on my phone, like, okay, what was the last however many things I record, delete that. So because I have so much video on my phone, just because between the stuff I do for podcasts and YouTube, and then with my kids, like my four oldest kids all do sports, so I'm recording stuff all the time too. So I'm like, okay,
Oh
goodbye,
wow. So
goodbye,
that means
precious
that
memories.
so so
Not
that
really.
means that like so what do you have you said you have a Samsung?
Yeah, I have a Samsung.
Okay.
It's just a Galaxy S20 FE model.
Okay.
So,
Well, what kind
mhm.
of software are you using to do your editing?
So everything I'm doing right now, I use a mix between Anchor. So Anchor is the platform that my podcast is hosted on. So I do a mix between some of the stuff with that Anchor has, as well as Audacity. Is the other one that I use as well.
Okay.
Audacity is a more recent one I started doing. Um, just because as I kind of over the last couple of months transitioned more from doing my phone to actually using this mic and stuff. So I kind of just been getting more familiar with Audacity and things like that. But yeah,
Okay.
that those are the two things that I do for editing. And and honestly, I would say for me the term editing is very using very loosely, because I do very little to no editing with my stuff. And I think the reason why is because with me recording solo, I can pause and stop and whatever as I need to, so I don't have to do a whole bunch, because I know a lot of people, especially if it's like group recordings or whatever, some people, and of course this is also like a person to person thing, but I know some people like to edit out every or if somebody coughs or sneezes and all that stuff. Well, I learned pretty quickly doing this myself and listening to other people's podcasts, and me listening to podcasts for years. I was like, you know what? Okay, if I got a cough, I'll just boop, hit that, tap that button, mute it or whatever, or I just click pause on my recording, cough, sneeze, need to get some water, whatever. So you ain't hearing chip bags and bottles of water popping and stuff, whatever. So I guess you could say I kind of do a lot of my quote unquote editing as I go along.
Right.
So that when I'm done, all I do is add my music on at the beginning, at the end, upload, and honestly, like probably the thing that takes me the most time, honestly, aside from the actual recording, is just me going back and just documenting all my timestamps, because that's one thing I've always loved about podcasts. And so I wanted to make sure I did on mine, because like I said, I cover a variety of topics. So in my little show notes, I have timestamps for, okay, I'm talking about this show, this game, this thing, that thing. That way when people pull up my thing, they can be like, okay, you know what? Okay, oh, all right, Robert's talking about this. I want to jump ahead. Or even if they do listen all the way through, at least they kind of like, oh, cool. Okay, Robert's gonna be talking about this or that. All right, cool. I know to look forward to that. Or, with me talking about like I said, like a lot of like shows and books and stuff, depending on who the person is, they might not be up to date with it or whatever. Like, oh crap, I don't want spoilers. Or I don't want to know what happened yet. I'm not up to date. So they
Right.
can just skip ahead to the next subject. So, but anyway, that is something else or that's
I
probably
love
like the
it.
one thing that takes the most
Yeah.
time. But even that, I take notes on that as I'm going. So I'm kind of like looking at my timer on the screen. And so what I'll do is, okay, I'm about to change subjects or whatever. I'll just pause. Okay, all right, 10 minutes, 50 seconds. All right, and keep going. So yeah, so a lot of my stuff I just do as I go.
Oh, I love that. You're giving me some tips now because I just let my um recorder just keep going.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
because I don't feel like, like having to stop because I got everything set up. But
Oh
I
yeah.
think I do like that because you don't have to do as much editing. So Robert, you want to give us some tips on things that you've learned in podcasting?
Yes. Probably the biggest one for me is networking. And so just kind of expanding on that, that includes getting involved in various groups, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever or whatever social media platform that you find yourself most comfortable in, that's where I would start at. So for me, it was a mix between Twitter and Facebook. Those are kind of like the main two, as far as like community wise that I interact with, and Instagram is kind of starting to pick up a little bit more for me. But yeah, for sure, just kind of just being active and being involved. And so like anytime like you might see a thread where somebody's like, hey, because there's certain podcast specific pages, either be for for Anchor or Podcast Movement or a variety of different people that might be um or pages that might be dedicated to podcast stuff, whatever. Do not be afraid to jump in and join the conversation. Just because you get to meet and talk to so many cool people doing that stuff. So yeah, so that definitely be a big thing for me. It's just interacting and talking with people. So yeah, just be active, get out there,
Hmm.
meet people, share tips. Do not be afraid to ask questions, because I know a lot of times people feel like, oh, I don't want to feel, I don't want to. I don't know. I guess maybe just a mix of like potential feeling like they might be embarrassed to have to ask for help, but that is okay because all of us we don't get to where we are without at least asking questions, researching, and things of that nature. And from what I found, at least in the different circles that I'm in, is that everybody is very open and welcoming. And honestly, you have a question, it's like, hey, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not sure about this platform or whatever. There is somebody out there that has seen it, done it, or even if they might not know, they might have a friend that knows. And so they might be like, you know what, Lady C, I don't know the answer, but my friend, Joey over here, he knows.
Right.
And so, so yeah, so definitely, yeah, just being active and networking with people. Trying to think. I guess another big one, and this is kind of just going more back to, starting out, so for anybody that might be watching this that, that are in the position of like, you know what, I got some ideas, but, you're thinking you have to do a ton of preparation. Not saying don't do any preparation. Of course, you do need to have at least some type of, like idea of what you want to do and general, game plan, but it's okay to just start. Because a lot of times people will, spend, months, years trying to have the perfect plan. But yeah, a lot of people, they would just try to have everything be perfect. Like, oh, I gotta have the perfect equipment. I gotta have, you know, 100 episodes already recorded. Like, no, it is okay to just start because honestly, for me just starting ended up working in my benefit because a lot of times there are just certain things you just will not learn until you publish your first episode, whether it be like, oh, okay, all right, I need to know how to, adding notes to stuff, or getting your stuff onto all the different streaming services like, Apple, Google, Amazon, whoever. So yeah, so there's just some stuff you just will not know or understand until you have hit publish on that first episode. Because I remember when I did my first episode, that was like one of like the most nerve-wracking moments for me. Is just okay, I recorded, now me hitting publish and then seeing the message pop up on the screen like, all right, your episode is now live, and now hey, it is now, it now belongs to the world, now belongs to the internet. But yeah, like I said, yeah, don't be afraid to just start and to figure some stuff out along the way. Yeah,
Right.
so
Good advice. Good advice. I mean,
mhm,
and anybody who's done a podcast is going to know exactly what you're talking about. And
mhm,
a lot of times people, this one lady at the conference last week, she said that she did not know this, but she and her partner, her co-host, they
mhm.
recorded 6 podcasts and they did not realize that their sound wasn't on. I guess they got the podcast out,
Yeah,
but the sound was so low that they had recorded 6 before they realized that their
yeah,
sound was not working properly.
yeah,
And so she said that was like a learning experience, you know?
yeah,
So, I mean, you got to listen to your sound. You got to do a sound check. You got to do something, but that's the thing
yes.
she remembered in podcasting,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know?
yes, that is definitely and yes, that is definitely very key. You know, you may you don't necessarily have to like maybe like listen to the full episode over again, but at least check a couple spots, like you said, maybe like skip ahead a couple places, whatever, like you said, just to make
Yep.
sure it's working. Because because I had that happen to me one time to where um it was like one of like the first few times I was using Audacity, and I didn't notice that it didn't pick up my microphone as the default, and it was just recording off of the laptop's microphone. And so same thing, I sounded like I was far away or whatever the case may be. And so since then I'm like, okay, before I hit record, okay, I'm double checking. And sometimes I'll just do like a couple of like 30 seconds, just like test runs. So I'll just turn it on,
Right.
hit record, like a mic check, test, and I'll play it back like, okay, sounds good. But yeah, definitely yeah, double checking yourself before you record, after you record, and things of that nature. But yeah, definitely
Definitely check it. Right.
yeah, because honestly, I think that might be one. I would say that that might be a good thing as far as when you're building up or when you're getting started, is maybe even doing like a podcast trailer or just a general introductory episode. Because even if you know what you do want to have, 5 6 episodes built up, it's still okay. Okay, you know what, just do a general introduction episode. Just be like, hey, this is who I am, this is what the show's going to be. Because that'll kind of cover a couple of things to where, one, you kind of just letting your potential audience know like, hey, this is what you can expect from me. But on the same hand, you're getting something out there so that, okay, so you can kind of at least start getting a test of like, okay, this is what the process is like. And
Right.
especially when it comes to getting your podcast out onto all those different services. Because some services, as soon as you hit publish, it goes onto them automatically. And some places like Apple, for example, it might be weeks before your stuff populates through their system, because some platforms are a little bit more stringent than others. So some you can just, hey, hit publish, and then, hey, open door, we take everybody come
Right.
in, all the podcasts
Well,
and
see what
stuff.
that
So
is with Apple, and
mhm,
that came up too. With Apple, it's actually getting you approved.
yeah,
So once you're approved and you put your episode up, it goes up right away.
yeah, yeah,
But if you decide, hey, look, I think I'm gonna publish to Apple,
hmm,
and I'm gonna have a great big old launch party next week. No, you're not.
yeah,
You're not having a launch party next week because it may take them 30 days before they actually approve you to be on their platform.
yep,
Now, I will
yep,
say this, and I'm going to say this: music comes up a lot. Should I use music? If I
hmm,
use music, is it going to be
copyright,
copywriting and something coming to copyright issues?
yeah,
But I'm gonna tell you another situation with music that I would like to just say. I'm not gonna talk
Mhm.
about the copyright issue right now.
Yeah.
One of the mistakes that I made early on in
Mhm.
podcasting, I found some music.
Mhm.
It was royalty free,
Mhm.
but I thought it was a great idea to play the music during my entire podcast.
Mm.
And it was low enough, but it was annoying.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of episodes also on my computer training. Now, I
Mhm.
thought the computer training part would be okay because I had heard other computer trainers that was doing that. But when I had done like maybe 10 or 15 podcasts and they have music and the audience was like, I love your channel, I love your podcast, but that music is so annoying. It
Yeah.
took us forever to figure out people don't want to hear music through your entire broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be so careful in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I only do mine at the top of the show for maybe I'm experimenting with some stuff now because originally mine was just hey like 30 seconds for the general intro thing, and then however long my outro is, which depending on how much I'm jibber jabbering, might be a minute, might be 4 minutes,
Right.
but yeah, for sure no more than like a few minutes tops at the top of the show. And like I said, that's just me just kind of hey, what's up, and just kind of getting into the show, and then eventually after a couple of minutes it'll just okay, that's enough. Cause yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've seen some people that have
But
experienced that, or I
it
feel it for
is.
myself when I'm listening to shows. I'm like, okay, that beat is cool, but I don't want to
We
hear it
didn't
for an
realize
hour.
it, and people were like, "Oh, that music is so annoying." And then, so as time went on, like maybe like 6 months ago, I was doing a podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
I was reading some material
Mm,
to corroborate some statements I was making, and just to say, "Oh, here's some research we did."
mm-hmm.
And it took about 30 to 40 seconds to read it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I thought, why not put a splash of music
Mm-hmm.
while you're reading that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a quiet tone, it was a low
Mm-hmm.
volume, and it worked fine.
Okay. Okay.
But to continue playing music while you're like you and I are talking right now,
Yeah.
if I go add music to this, it'd be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is crazy, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of lot of trial and error and figuring stuff out as you go, which kind of goes back to that point of of hey, sometimes you just got to just jump in and experiment because you rather learn some of these things early on, like you said, versus like somebody that I'm a record music and do this, build up like 10 episodes, and then you release your first couple, and people are like, oh, this is horrible, and you're like, crap, I have 8 more episodes that have the music. So
Oh my God.
yeah.
Oh, but you know here's the other thing that I find is that when you record,
Hmm.
you should always have like one total recording
Hmm.
that doesn't include your music.
Yes.
That was my other
Yes.
mistake.
Hmm.
I had my music and my actual, speaking part
Oh,
as
gotcha.
one. And so
Gotcha.
I was going through all of my, you know, um, archives trying to find
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And what happened was I had edited it down. So I'm talking about the edited file.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you have one clean file with no music at all.
Yep.
And then you can easily extract that music and get it out of there.
Yep.
But once it's in there and you've saved it and you've edited, and that's the
Yeah.
only copy you got,
Yeah.
there is absolutely no way I'm going to go back and go
Hmm.
through a file that had been edited, because when we first started, I did a lot of editing
Yeah.
because it was not just me, it was my husband.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes, he may start and stop and start and stop. And it's like, okay, which which take am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You may have 5 takes and you
Mhm.
got to get rid of 4. So
Yeah.
at that point, you're thinking, well, it wasn't like you, Robert, where you stopped when you were going to, pause to do something. In his
Yeah.
case, it was 5 different takes.
Yeah.
And so then if I went back to my archives to get that footage, it was like, nah, I'm not going through all that. So
Yeah.
I've been through I've probably done several thousand hours of
Yeah.
editing. And I
Yeah.
know that I have spent a lot of time when people were going out,
Mhm.
hanging out with friends, and I'm in
Mhm.
my studio editing to get this podcast out.
Yeah.
I have edited quite a bit, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
I've
yeah.
learned a lot,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, the time part, I think is definitely something that a lot of people underestimate when they think about coming into podcasting, because a lot of times like, oh hey, all right, yeah, I'll just get in front of a microphone or my phone, record for however long they're gonna do, and hey, that's all good. That's all you got to do. And it's like, no, which I think that's kind of why sometimes you see a mix of, you know, that being part of the reason why some people don't stick with this for as long as they might have expected, as long as they wanted, just because they realize, like, okay, you know what, um, this is way more than I bargained for. Because yeah, it can definitely be many long nights, just long hours in general.
Right.
And so yeah, so it's definitely something that yeah, to keep in mind is like, hey, doing podcasts and doing this stuff, whatever, it's more than just us sitting here, talking, and then hitting upload. It's like, okay, hey, if like you said, like for mine, for example, like I said, doing my timestamps and stuff, uh, you know, potential depending on how you do stuff, whatever, you might do thumbnails,
Right.
and okay, then it's like, okay, I gotta find the image and editing the image and doing
It's a
different
lot.
stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. As well as another part of this stuff we haven't even really talked about too much is like the promotion of it. That's a whole other part of it. Yes, you could just record and hit publish, but that's only going to get you so far. It's like,
Right.
okay, you got to share it somewhere, regard, you don't have to be, or you don't have to share on every single platform, but you need to share it somewhere, whether your poison is Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, wherever you feel comfortable doing it. But you have to share, get out there. You have to, like I said earlier, back with the networking and the community, you have to get out there, talk with people, and don't be afraid to, throw your name in the ring. Because I know,
Yeah.
especially on Twitter, a million times a day, you probably see, or I definitely see a lot of post that's like, hey, I'm trying to get into podcasting, what are your recommendations? I see that all day every day. And hey, I don't do it too much I haven't done it too much lately, whatever, but early on, like, oh, I see that, hey, I'm tossing my name in there, you
Absolutely.
gonna know.
And I'm telling you, you're so right. And they're so welcoming and friendly, and people are
Hmm.
just out there, they're sharing. And what I find is that people, they realize that when they follow somebody on Twitter or subscribe to their channel and stuff like that, they
Hmm.
realize they want somebody to subscribe to them as well.
Yep.
And you can get your friends and your family all day long. They don't
Yep.
appreciate what you're doing, but another podcaster knows what it means when they go to your channel, like, let me subscribe
Yeah.
because I want somebody to subscribe to me too, you
Yeah.
know? So they appreciate your work more than your family and your friends,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause
Yeah.
cause 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 I definitely had, the people that I grew up with and stuff was like, hey man, when I put out the first few episodes, like, hey man, check out your stuff. Sounds cool, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like crickets, 5 months later, crickets. And I know y'all not listening because, the back end, the analytics, I can see every city and stuff and the percentage of listens and stuff. So, I,
Right.
I I can see, oh, my buddy that's in whatever city, okay, I can go and look at my little chart like, 1%. So yeah, so those of y'all out there that's like, oh yeah, man, I listen to it all the time. I don't know, the numbers ain't matching.
Well, you know what? If you expect your family and your friends to be your cheerleaders,
Oh yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Oh
We
yeah.
we most of the people that listen to our message are people that just happen to meet us. And we've
Hmm.
had quite a few people. We get emails all the time, and they'll
Hmm.
say, "I've been tuning into your channel for several years now, but this is the
Hmm.
first time I decided to write."
Hmm.
And it is so comforting knowing that people are watching and they're listening and they're learning.
Yep.
And then to send you an email to say that
Yep.
just helps you to appreciate that the work you're doing is not falling on deaf ears, you know?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That has definitely been a awesome thing and something that has kind of like kept reminding me of like, you know what? Okay, what I am doing is good. Somebody out there is enjoying it. It is like you said, when you do get those moments of feedback and stuff, because there have been a couple times here or there to where I'm like, do I need to change up this or do I need to stop doing that or whatever? And it feels like every time I start to have a little bit of self doubt, just somebody will reach out to me like, hey, found your show, freaking love it, keep doing what you're doing. And it just comes like, okay, no, all right, no, I don't need to change anything, whatever. I can, I'm good at what I'm doing, whatever, or I'm better than what I give myself um
Yeah,
credit for.
absolutely.
So
Right.
and with that, I definitely, kind of going back to like with the whole networking community thing, whatever, um, being each other's cheerleaders and stuff, because a lot of time a lot of us, or a lot of just content creators in general, we mainly might just see the negative stuff,
Mhm.
whereas that might just be a small fraction of the audience. Is that one person that's actually, actually saying something like, I don't like this podcast or that YouTube thing sucked or whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas, 99% of nobody that doesn't say anything are liking it. And so
Right.
I would encourage anybody that might be listening to this or whatever. Hey, content creators, we would appreciate and we like if you do actually say something, even if it's just like, hey, you watched the video and you just comment, hey, awesome video, loved it, just something, just because that stuff matters.
It
And
does. I agree.
yeah, and it's been very awesome, and that is something that I have tried to be cognizant of and try to actively do in the groups and circles that I'm in, is like, hey, all right, somebody, I'm listen to this podcast or whatever, I'll reshare it, retweet it, and
Mhm.
then I'll comment. Either it'd be like, hey, awesome episode. It could be something as simple as just, hey, awesome episode. Or if you actually engage with it, it's like, hey, cool episode. I agree with you on, yeah, I also liked that episode of that show, or yeah, I also checked out that book, little stuff like
Right.
that or whatever. People, the content creators, we also enjoy them because like, oh hey, okay, somebody, we know somebody is listening because we see the numbers going up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but the fact that somebody actually took the time and actually commented or spoke on something specifically that you talked about is like, okay, it's not just, oh, somebody hit play once and then stop 30 seconds in. It's like, no, they actually listen and got to these different talking points and they can, communicate that back because it was a friend of a friend had reached out to me a while back because he was needing some advice on podcast stuff or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I had never met this guy before or whatever. And so we started talking. And so he started telling me or talking about stuff that I mentioned on my show. So like for example, he was like, hey, I know you have a busy schedule because I know, I remember on last week's episode you talked about, your kids have a basketball game coming up or whatever. And I was like, oh,
Somebody is
okay,
listening.
yeah,
Right.
it's like, okay, it's more than just, oh yeah, I listen. He actually proved that he listened, because that the thing he said you would not know if you did not listen to the episode. But
Right.
but yeah, that stuff is like very awesome, and like you said, like very humbling and heartwarming when yeah, when somebody, sends you an email or a message or gives you a shout out, because this other podcast that I'm been, you know, uh chit chatting with the word for a while, and I listen to every week or whatever, they gave me a shout out on their episode, their most recent episode or whatever. And that was so freaking awesome, because I'm just listening, and then they mentioned my name and then also plugged my stuff to their audience. And so that just felt freaking cool. I when I got back to the house, I played it for my wife. I'm like, hey, check this out.
Right. Oh, that was
So
nice.
yeah. And so, but yeah, just being kind and doing your part to help others, to help the community.
Right.
Because I guess just like a couple little last little things just kind of going on, like with the community and network aspect of whatever. Um and this might be more of a of a Robert habit or whatever, but what I do sometimes whenever I come across a new show, I don't do this all the time, but when I think about it, I do it. Is I just kind of just click through and check out their stuff. Like if they have a Linktree link or a website link or whatever, I'll click on it in their profile and just see what they got, see how it looks, because
Right.
that's also another part of it. Just like being aware of what others are doing within the space or whatever, because you can learn something from somebody else. It's like, oh, I did not know you could do that, or hey, okay, I did not know, that could look like this or that or whatever. And so, but also in me doing that, it's also become opportunities for me to help somebody, because there's been times where I've clicked on somebody's link and then the link was broken.
Okay.
And so it's like, oh, hey, in the bio here from our website, and it doesn't go to the wrong thing, or this lady that I started following recently or whatever, at some point she changed her Instagram name. And so the link she had in her bio, when you change your name or your stuff, or whatever, that doesn't go everywhere. So when you click on the
Right.
link, it went nowhere. And I just mentioned like, hey, just let you know this link isn't working, or this video doesn't have any picture or audio, because a lot of times, once again, people will speak up when it's negative stuff, but people don't oftentimes speak up when it's like, hey, something to help somebody or whatever. And so those people are like, oh, I had no idea that that link wasn't working, or hey, this video didn't have any audio.
Right.
So
You
and
get
who
some real
knows.
feedback that could be meaningful
Yes,
to these people
yes,
instead of
yes.
just, because, what I always say, listen, when someone goes out of their way to take time to record something,
Hmm.
that took time.
Yeah.
It took creativity. It took, you were putting yourself out, because whenever you go out here on these social media platforms and you put yourself out there, you're putting yourself out to be judged,
Yeah.
and people can be cruel. And I have
Yeah.
yet to be at one YouTube video that had at least 100 views on it, where
Hmm.
somebody didn't hit the thumbs down. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, do you have a YouTube channel? Have you
Hmm.
gone out and tried to do this? Put
Yeah.
your face out to the world? But you're so quick to put a thumbs down.
Hmm.
So, and so a lot of times, people can't handle that. And I know when I first started out, I could not handle that. I would
Hmm.
take stuff down, and my dad would be like, "Stop taking your work down. You did such a great job on that video.
Yeah.
You got 100 likes and one dislike, and you're taking it down for one
Mhm.
dislike."
Mhm.
So you have to have thick skin to be
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
For sure.
So yeah, so Robert, I really enjoyed this discussion and having
Yes.
you on the platform. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you and everything.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
just enjoyed, your the tips and all the information that you have to give about podcasting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so podcasters, there's a lot to learn out here.
Mhm.
And the learning continues to evolve.
Yes, 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 yes. Every day is an opportunity to learn, to grow. Basically, never stop learning, never stop researching. And like I said a while ago, never stop checking out your peers. Like I said, not, of course, don't necessarily, hey,
Right.
don't go out there and just steal everybody's ideas, but it's okay to take inspiration from others and stuff because I definitely even in the short time that I've been doing this,
Mhm.
it's stuff that I've learned, stuff that I've tweaked or whatever, just because it's like, oh hey, I just did not know that was an option or that you could do that or that oh this other platform I wasn't even aware of I could put my content on. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it's the podcast world is very, very big. So yeah, so get out there, network, make friends, and collaborate, people.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh yes. Thank you for having me. And if you don't mind me a little my short little plug at the end. Anybody that might have enjoyed what I said today, once again, my name is Robert from Dad Needs to Talk podcast. I am pretty much on every platform you can think of. I should be under at Dad Needs to Talk. That's Twitter, Instagram. DadNeedsToTalk.com is the website, which is the central hub for everything that I do. So yeah, go to the website, check me out, listen to my podcast.
Now, I hope you enjoyed these video tips. And if you did, make sure you hit that like button. And I'll see you on the next video.